Hey guys, welcome back to the Interceptor. We are here with another Alliance War, and this is going to be Season 51, War number 5, and Matrix has matched up against AOH. I do know this Alliance as we have played them, I believe, last season, if not the season before. It was one of those two. And also, Grass Knuckles is the YouTuber. He is from this Alliance. And I've already seen his war video from this. Mine's coming a little bit late as we're currently in the middle of war number 7. It's about halfway done. And today we have, what, 6 fights? 7 fights? 7 fights. Yeah, we have 7 fights. But, yeah, we're going to have a fun time. So, you guys read the title. You know what happens. We'll get to that later. That's obviously the last fight of the war. So, we have Titania here, and we have this Longshot. It's on a node that literally does nothing unless you mess up the fight. Like, unless you do something really weird for apparent, like, literally no reason, nothing on this node will ever trigger. Here, we take a combo to the face, obviously to build power, because I'm smart. But yeah, he just doesn't really do anything here. I think I throw my L2 because he was just dying so fast. Oh no, maybe not. The only way to really die here would be to eat a special 1 during Pure of Heart. But we're not going to do that. So we go for this L3. I didn't even bother waiting for the Haymaker and chaining it from heavy. I just threw it for the damage. And then I'm going to get a couple heavies off here. It doesn't really matter if I push to SP2 in this matchup. I'm going to go for 1 more heavy. He does go down. And that is probably the cleanest fight this war. This Maestro. Okay, so I'm going to make a mistake going into this fight. So I know that this node is going to stack a bunch of Furies. And I make a mistake going in with Titania because my plan here was to just do parry heavy the entire fight so that he never gets buffs, right? The only effects he would get would be the passives and maybe a couple personal Furies, but my goal was to eat up all of those buffs with the stagger. But here, he gets his glancing buff like a millisecond, a literal millisecond before the second hit of my heavy lands, which would have staggered it and prevented it. So now he's gaining hella Furies, and every single hit I'm doing is getting glanced. Still throwing some heavy attacks. They're still doing nothing. And at this point, this fight's not looking good. Because those 7 passive Furies that are being built up, they're pretty strong Furies. And we're going to take some mad damage in this fight. So we go for some heavy attacks, doing literally nothing because the hits are guaranteed to glance. And you'll see when I'm close to him, I'm taking over 2,000 a second. And also, because he has so many buffs, I can't parry. My parry will not be consistent. Now that he got to max charges, his effects are all passive. So I no longer have my ability accuracy being reduced. We're just going to throw some heavy attacks to knock him down. But in hindsight, I should have just used Chee'Ilth. I don't know why I didn't use Chee'Ilth. I think that on paper, using Titania does make a lot of sense. It just didn't really work out in the fight, unfortunately, because I was not able to stagger all these buffs. We had to our second special 3, and at this point, I was kind of chilling. I was like, okay, I'm not as worried as I was at one point in this fight. And then he throws his SP2 while intimidated, so I lose out on a ton of damage. But we are keeping his buff staggered, and then here he is going to go down after 2 minutes. So a little bit scary. But it was 100% my fault. If I'd just gone with Chee'Ilth parry heavy, I could have dashed back after every single heavy attack, and I wouldn't have had to deal with quite as many Fury buffs. And obviously I wouldn't have had an answer to the buffs that he gains, but I would have been able to just bleed him down because my specials would have still inflicted bleed, and I can... Yeah, basically Chee'Ilth would have been smarter. That's all. This Mephisto is actually going to be really, really annoying because he is going to proc Aura of Incinerates like it is nobody's business. Like, he is just going to trigger them left and right. And there's not really any danger to this fight because no one could possibly die to this fight unless you just, like, dropped your phone in water and just inputs didn't work for 30 seconds. That's the only way anyone could ever die to this fight. But it's still annoying, right? It's still going to take a good amount of time. And he seems to just be triggering his aura on just about every single hit. There, 3 hits, he triggers it twice. And it's just going to continue like that. Like, it triggers first hit again. I think that's 3 or 4 combos in a row. He's triggered it on the first hit. Yeah, just a little bit annoying. But it's not even on a node with increased ability accuracy. Like, if it was on path 4, I'd understand. Because he's just about guaranteed to proc it on every single hit. So you basically just need to send Human Torch. But there's no increased ability accuracy here. He's just proccing it like crazy. We are going to go for special 3, so I want to bait out this SP1 first, and then I'm going to parry and heavy chain into the special 3, which of course triggered an Incinerate on the first hit of the heavy attack, because that's just the way this fight's been going. We are going to prevent the regeneration here, and we are going to do a little bit of damage, just, yeah, preventing his regen. Gotta bait the L2 now. And we're just going to, I believe, wait out. No, we're just going to say screw you because this is my last Titania fight. And yeah, he has 4 auras and he goes down a little over a minute. Not too worried about that one. This next fight also not going to be that bad. This is going to be a JJ on path 2. I believe this is node 34. Wait, 35? 36. No, this is not 34. This is 29. Wait, if there's 3 paths times 9, and this is on path 2, then it's node, yeah, 29, right? Maybe I'm losing my mind. That is quite possible. But this JJ is not hard whatsoever. With Chee'Ilth, you just need to get your charges up, throw your heavy attacks during auto block, throw your parry lights during evade, and luckily we are able to just parry this, so we don't get a bunch of debuffs on us, and that's what I'm basically doing to just avoid buffs as much as I can. Unfortunately, I do need to throw my SP1, both for damage and for the ability to prevent the unstoppable. And we are relying a lot in this fight on our cleanses so that we don't trigger decks against her special 1, because you aren't really supposed to block it. Here, I almost went to M.O.D.O.K. I almost skipped my Iron Man fight. I almost did, but I didn't. And this is actually the debut of my newest rank 5 6-star, who I also ascended, Red Magneto. Red Magneto does absolutely nothing special to counter the tactic, other than what he normally does. But what he normally does is so insanely overpowered that if there is a metal champ on a node you can parry, he just destroys them. And this is no exception. This is a rank 3 7-star Iron Man Infinity War, which is a interesting rank 3 7-star to do. On Power Snack and the Power Sting node. Power Snack is obviously not going to trigger all the time, and at this point we just want to start doubling our prowess and then throw off the L3, and he is going to drop. As long as we are landing these heavy attacks during stuns, we are not going to get nullified, or not nullified, evaded. And then during auto block, obviously we're not going to get evaded anyways. But we threw this L3. I did think this would kill, but because of that one really unlucky and unfortunately timed Power Snack trigger in the middle of the fight, it unfortunately did not, but it's still pretty good. It's still a 50-second clean fight. Nothing that crazy. Next fight. This next fight here is going to be M.O.D.O.K on node 42. This is a fight that I definitely fumbled. I could have played this a lot better and a lot cleaner. I think I'm going to eat a combo, a special 1, and maybe a second combo. I don't remember exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of the protection node, and we are not going to knock down M.O.D.O.K until after we have clarity up. Because once we get clarity up, we no longer have to worry about auto block. And here I had a little brain fart moment where I just completely forgot that auto block, personal auto block, still triggers despite or during special attacks, because the global auto block cannot trigger during special attacks. So I just threw my SP1. I'm like, oh, the SP1 is 4 hits, so I'm at 6 in my combo, so obviously that will get me enough. Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that. And then here I get evaded a couple times, just trying to get my clarity back. Want to bait this L1 first. At this point, I'm waiting for protection to come back just so I can hit during stun so that the damage reflection is not quite as bad. Going to use the L1 to knock down here. And this fight should have been insanely simple. Just bait L1s. The tactic shuts down his auto block. But I just made it a lot more complicated by absolutely sucking and being terrible at the game. But yeah, this L1 kills. We were never in any danger to die. It would have taken several more mistakes for me to die here, but still didn't go that well. And the reason that I had to wait so long to clear this war was because the person who took node 46, this first one on the left, was the person who was placing wags for the boss, and they were the only one with a wags charge left. And 48 was still up for the longest time. Like, even an hour before I took this, 48 was not taken down yet. So I get on my break at work, and there's no wags on the boss, and I'm like, guys, this is my last chance to clear. I seriously need someone to do this right now. And luckily the guy was here, and he was able to put wags on. Now, that doesn't end up mattering, because let me explain to you how this Chee'Ilth versus Quicksilver fight is supposed to go. The way that Chee'Ilth counters the global is obviously through the tactic. Now, how do you get the tactic charges? Heavy countering heavy during the auto block phase. That is the main way to get charges. The second way is to throw a special attack and have your special attack hits land, which the SP1 is 4 hits. So if the SP1 is 4 hits, and you need 10 to get your clarity up, then that means you need 6 hits from your heavy, which is 3 heavy attacks. And I took this boss 2 times in off-season. Both times, I was able to get my clarity up during the auto block phase, the first auto block phase in the fight. Why? Because Quicksilver was willing to throw heavies. Every single time, he did 1 medium into my block, straight into a heavy attack. Every single time. All 6 times. In both fights, 3 times at the start of each fight. In this fight, he just decides, yeah, I don't care what your plan is, you're not getting clarity up. And he's going to throw a total of 1 heavy attack. That's it. So it started out great, but now he's just like, nope, no more heavy attacks. And now I'm stuck in the corner. And if you know the way that Quicksilver works, if you counter his medium attack or you intercept him, he has a guaranteed evade. However, he also has evade from the tactic. Now, the tactic comes with a 15% chance to evade incoming hits, or a 15% chance to auto block, depending on which they are in, which is increased by 40% by the boss node, and also the boss node gives the defender or the boss a burst of power whenever an auto block or an evade triggers. But when he activates the global evade, it does not turn off his personal evade. So that's how you can tell if the evade that occurs in the fight is a tactic evade or a Quicksilver evade. And in one of the 2 fights, Sorry, I think I said earlier that in both of the fights I did in off season practicing this matchup that I got my clarity up at the end of auto block. That happened in one of them. I want to correct myself. In the other one, I was able to hit him, I think it was like an additional 2 or 3 times during evade phase, and he didn't evade a single time. So what do you think's going to happen in this fight? Yeah, he's going to evade literally every single hit, and I'm never going to get clarity. So there's 1. There's 2. There's... Oh, I actually landed a hit. That's insane. That's 3 evades. That one, by the way, if you can see, that one put his personal timer on cooldown, which means that that hit was a personal evade. So the global did not trigger, and that was a personal evade. So now that the personal evade is done, that means I can safely throw a special attack, because otherwise the special attack would be evaded if you were to counter, or like to do a medium dash back into a special. So we land the SP1, and now we're up to 8 charges. So I'm like, okay, I'm at 8. I am chilling right now. We hit once, auto block. We hit once, evade. And not only do we evade directly. He evades directly into a special one. And I saw the evade, and I was trying to hold block. I literally could not hold block fast enough. And the unfortunate thing here is that I'm kind of stuck in an infinite loop waiting for evade to not trigger. Because when you are stuck in the corner, you cannot heavy counter his heavy with Chee'Ilth consistently. You can't do it, because he reacts too fast enough, and Chee'Ilth charges the first hit of her heavy too slowly in the corner. Also, you cannot heavy counter heavy when Quicksilver has a special attack. It just doesn't work. Sometimes he will just throw it no matter how fast you are. So I am now stuck, and there's nothing I could do. I went for a heavy counter heavy, evaded. And now I have 7 of those whiplashes on myself. I'm going to land a bunch of reparries. There, I thought he was dashing. That, in hindsight, was my chance to save the fight. If I had simply held block, gone back into my own corner, and baited his heavy attack, and punished his heavy attack with a special, that would have not been evaded. That does not trigger his personal evade, and that would have been my way to save the fight. But now we throw the SP1 into his block because I mistimed it. We're taking the whiplash damage. I'm down to 23%. Here, my last chance. Look at this. Look at this. Okay, I'm going to go back for a second. So this is my special one getting thrown into the block. At this point, I panic. But during the special animation, I'm looking at 2 things. I'm looking at the count of my whiplash, and I'm looking at the auto block timer. And I'm like, okay, he's not on evade. That means I can use this time to heavy counter heavy once and get my last 2 charges and finally take control of the fight. So what's going to happen? Look at this. That's a full combo into my block. So now, he's back in evade phase, and I can't hit him a single time. There, I actually did hit him once. I hit him a singular time, and there I actually get clarity. It took me 1 minute and 25 seconds to get clarity a single time. And at this point, I'm down to 12%. Now, the strat that you use in this fight, the way that Chee'Ilth kills Quicksilver fast and consistently and well, is that you don't bait any specials. You literally push the special 3 and you just let your invul and soak it. And he actually doesn't even get to a second special 3. He dies before he even gets to a second special 3. The fight takes about 75 seconds-ish. And you just spam special 1 and medium, or full combos, depending. It doesn't really matter that much, because with your grit passive, you're going to get some bleeds on your light attacks anyways. So it doesn't really matter that you do medium, which is your guaranteed evade. But if you'll notice, I can't push special 3 because earlier in the fight, I took some hits. So he's at special 2. I'm like, okay, I gotta evade this. You can fully evade his L2. I just missed the dex. So it's kind of like Human Torch, where you gotta do one hit, and then the second hit has to outrange multiple hits. And that's kind of how you fully dex it. I have done it before, but I am nowhere near consistent. So we're going to go in a second time. And what do you guys think is going to happen? You read the title. Yeah, no heavy attacks. Look at this. What is this man doing? Oh, one heavy attack. So I get one heavy counter heavy. Just like in the last fight. The only difference is I do get, I believe, slightly better RNG in this fight. But at this point, I realized that the mistake I made in the last fight was that I should have just chilled and waited for the auto block to come back so that I could get my charges during the auto block. But here, the second auto block is about to finish. And unfortunately, evade can trigger on blocks or hits into the block. But I believe, yeah, in this attempt, I think I literally just never get clarity up. There we full dex the L1, which is cool. There, I hit an intercept to put his evade on cooldown, and I did land a special 1. But we cooked. We got cooked. We did not cook, is what I meant to say. Quicksilver cooked us. And yeah, I tagged someone else to take the boss down because I wouldn't have had enough potions to heal to full again. So I'm not... The truth is that whenever I have bad wars where I die once or even multiple times, which happens very, very rarely, especially twice the same fight is just absurd, I'm usually mad at myself for playing so badly. I'm not really as mad at myself for this one. First off, the war was completely lost. Like, they had already cleared their fights, and they had less deaths than we had, and we had like 40 fights left. Or like 30 fights left, something like that. We lost this war, I think it was like 24-8. And at the time I was starting my first fight, we were already at 10 deaths. So it didn't matter if I soloed. So at the end of the day, I'm not that mad at myself. Like, I'm not beating myself up over this fight. Usually when I die, I'm like kind of pissed for the rest of the day. It wasn't really like that this time. But I obviously was not happy because I know how well this matchup can go, having done it twice during off-season unboosted. My best of those two fights being a 90-second solo where I ended with like 90% health. I know it's possible. I know it's possible with good RNG, good AI, and not sucking. So when I do stuff like this, I have a war like this, it's just unfortunate. So yeah, like I said earlier, we lost this war by a lot. We started this war off terribly. We died 6 times in our first 20 fights, which sounds wrong, but that's actually correct. And then we went the next 80 fights, only dying twice. And then we continued sucking again. And then we died, I think it was like 2 more times. And at that point, the war was lost because they had a 1-death lead and they'd already cleared all their fights. So we died another, 18? No, not 18. Like 15. We died another 15 times in the last 20 fights. So clearly we stopped boosting. But, I mean, I can't hold anyone else responsible. I'm the one responsible for 2 of the deaths. So, you know, you have wars like this that you just kind of want to forget and move on, and that's what I want to do. So let's move on. I promise I don't die next war. I'm promising that right now because the war's already done. I do take another boss, but I promise I don't die. So we are now 2-3 on the season. Also, shout out to AOH. They had a pretty solid score, and we just lost our minds and sucked terribly. If we were on our A game, we could have beat them. We clearly were not. It was awful. So yeah, we're now 2-3 on the season. and my death total is up to 3 fights. Or, sorry, 3 deaths. My PSR is at 24 out of 26. If you're wondering why the difference between that is only 2 and not 3, it's because 2 deaths were to the same fight, and PSR is measuring the percentage of fights soloed, not the fights you took minus the deaths, because that would be a different calculation. And obviously you don't not solo a fight twice, right? You either solo it or you don't solo it. The number of times that you die to a fight does not affect the PSR if that number is more than 1. Right? It makes sense. It makes sense if you think about it. So my PSR is now 24 out of 26, or 92%. And because this was the last fight of my war, I have a deathless streak of 0 fights. So thank you all for watching this video. And I hope you all have a great day and that you enjoy seeing me suck terribly at the game and die multiple times, because I know I had fun. So have a great day, everyone, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.